Alright, this is actually going to be take two of this video. The reason why it's going to be take two is the first time I tried recording this, I ended up talking for over an hour about this particular topic, and that is not the kind of format I was looking for these videos. Looking to keep it a lot shorter. What we're actually doing here is I'm going to come in and read and comment on an article that I've previously written about. Generally, it's going to be MSP marketing if I've written it, and maybe add some opinion or add some details on top of what I've already put into the article. The most recent article I wrote is this one here: 7 most common MSP sales and marketing mistakes in 2020, and that's the one we're going to start with today. Written by J.P. Rowe, that's me, J.P. Rowe, Marketing Director at Yse Growth. Since this is the first one of the videos in this series, I just want to say I've been writing professionally for over 15 years. I've been in marketing for that long. I've been in the MSP space for about 5 years. Most of that was under the Your Sales Energy banner at this point. And I've worked for and with numerous MSPs and vendors in the IT channel at this point. And then the other thing I'd like to say is that the idea for this video came from a friend of mine in the channel, Tom Watson, who is founder of MSP Go and also kind of the face of Ninja RMM. And I wanted to thank him because I think this is a really great idea, and it's a good way to make sure that this content that you're producing, and this is a good marketing tip, anything that you're producing, you really want to try to get as much value out of it as possible. So if I go take the time to write an article like this, which might take me a couple of hours, and then I post it up, maybe that's the end of its life cycle, but it doesn't have to be. By adding on top of it, adding more value by coming in and making a video out of it, I'm also making it more accessible to people who may not want to actually sit there and read it, but I'm also giving it new life, and really making sure that I'm getting the most bang for my buck out of my efforts, right? So that's something we always want to do. So let's get started. The 7 most common MSP sales and marketing mistakes in 2020. So the first thing that I say here, after going through the introduction, is that MSPs often jump right into promoting their business while completely overlooking an important marketing fundamental: product. You'll notice I capitalized both those words. And the reason why is because I'm referring to product and promotion in terms of the marketing mix. And of course, this is like day one marketing stuff. If you're going to school to get an education in this, then you're going to learn this very early on. The marketing mix, this is everything that a marketing person is actually supposed to be good at doing. Now, what you're going to immediately see is that in the space, when you go out and hire an MSP marketing company, a lot of times the only thing they actually do is promotion. They're not fully handling marketing for your business. And that's a little bit of how kind of like a misnomer has emerged here, where a lot of people, not just inside the IT channel, associate advertising with marketing, when in fact marketing has a lot more going on than just advertising. And in fact, our company, one reason why we do things very differently, and why we're more successful at what we do oftentimes, is because we don't just focus on promotion. We handle everything in that marketing mix, or we tweak it. I mean, we've actually helped develop and launch products numerous times, so that means we're involved in the whole process. But generally, if an MSP brings us on, they think a lot of this stuff is already done. Their placement and their products are there, and their products are kind of just handed down from their vendors, and they just resell them, things like that. But we come in, we actually refine all of these different parts so that when they get to the advertising point, it's a lot more effective, essentially. So don't neglect the entirety of the marketing mix, right? All 4 of those things are important. And then what's the point of promoting something unless your target audience is going to respond to it? I absolutely say that all the time. A lot of times people just think, brand awareness. Let's get the name out there. But that's, first of all, a lot of people who say that don't even have a brand to bring awareness to. Just saying that your company exists is meaningless to the consumer. So, I mean, we don't want to fall into that trap. Your customers won't respond unless you put some thought into your products. so that they offer some specific recognizable value to them. Okay, and that is, again, that's something very fundamental to what we do in terms of sales enablement rather than just strict marketing. Um, and here I go into how our company, Yse, has grown immensely over the past 2 years. We've also expanded into a couple of more ventures inside the channel and become vendors in other ways. But the reason why we've been so successful, and what's funny is a lot of times it's like, oh, you're a marketing company in the MSP space, you're very successful, but we don't hear your name mentioned along with like some of the bigger ones. And the reason why is because when we came in, we immediately started working with a few very large companies. So we were never a volume uh, business. We would work with 3, 5, 10 max clients at a time, uh, at price points much higher than these high volume competitors out there are doing, and really working in the shadows. It's we never had to do a lot of our own marketing. And now things are changing up. We're doing a little bit more because we're launching new products that are bringing some new things to the space, and we want to change that up a bit. But up until now, we've been very comfortable with our handful of clients and just kind of staying in the background, doing our research, watching, doing what we do, testing things, and making sure that what we're doing for everybody is actually working. And what that comes back to is we spend a lot of time working on our product in a sense, like what are we doing for you that's valuable. We work on that, and we develop, we change, we modify. We immediately saw problems with the standard agency model and tried to develop ways to get away from that. Now what we do is so completely removed from the agency model, it's not even there's almost no similarity between what the average marketing agency is doing and what we're doing. Um, and that isn't just because we're trying to be different. It's because we're looking at one way of doing it and saying this has a lot of flaws, and we're saying let's do it this way because it's going to fit better. And when it does fit better, we stick to it, right? So that is the ongoing product enhancement mindset, the ongoing development of your product, which could be a service. It's just your offering. Um, and that's what we also pass that way of thinking on to our MSP clients. It's not just a matter of here's a list of things that we resell from the vendors. Now let's put it in a list and show it to a consumer. You've got to develop some sort of added value, some sort of strategic meaning to develop a connection between that consumer and yourself before showing them that list means anything to them. We're very good at that. We're extremely good at that. And now we're teaching MSPs to do the same thing. We actually have been for a couple of years now. That's how we get them business. It's a very different approach, but it is a very effective and in the type of climate that you're working in now, it's a very smart approach, and we'll talk about why it's so much better than the old way here shortly. Um, yes, we've seen many MSPs making the same mistakes over and over again when it comes to sales and marketing, um, and for years. It's not just a 2020 thing. It's just it, and we say MSPs because that's who we work with, but these mistakes are everywhere. It's not just the channel. So the first big one is MSPs are stubbornly overconfident in their skills and knowledge. Again, this is not a blanket statement. We're not saying everybody is. But we get a lot of calls from MSPs that they immediately take on this position of like they know better than we do what to do. It's not conducive to a good working relationship. It's also probably not going to get you the best possible results, Uh, and I think a lot of the reason why this ends up happening is, the channel has been inundated with so many of these copycat marketing agencies that their agency model is very copy paste. It's like you hire us, then we start sending out emails. We post some stuff to your blog, and we start posting stuff to social media, and that is your marketing. And so a lot of people have realized the hard way that doesn't necessarily work. In most cases, it doesn't do much of anything. But the connection has been made in the minds of the MSP that that's what marketing is. You go out and you do a bunch of stuff, and it's supposed to somehow magically pay off. And because everybody knows that's a very hit or miss system, I mean, you all talk to each other. That's why reputation is so important in the channel. So you tell each other, like, hey, I tried this. They were sending out all these emails. They were doing this SEO. And I didn't get crap from it. So then you have doubt. And then when you go to look at an agency, you see, oh, look, they send a bunch of emails. They do blah, blah, blah. They do the same thing my friend said that he was doing, and it didn't work for him. So then you're forced into this position where you need to outsource, but everybody looks like they're doing that same stuff you've been told doesn't work. So you get kind of defensive and aggressive about it. And it's like, we didn't like that, obviously. I mean, it's like the analogy I draw here is imagine if the CEO of a business calls you up for IT services, and as soon as you get them on the phone, they're saying things like, I know a lot about IT already. You don't have to tell me anything. I know exactly what I need. I don't need anything other than this. Just give me the bottom line price and don't try to screw me. Like, I know what you're going to try to do. This is it. I've watched all these YouTube videos. I know what IT is supposed to look like. It would drive you nuts. But honestly, most MSPs end up calling us with that same attitude. Like, I know marketing. I know what's supposed to be getting done. I just need somebody to do it. And sadly, most of the time, they're not right. Because, there's a difference between what you can learn from watching a couple YouTube videos or studying a guru and what you learn, in our case, by doing this for 25 years or by having a background, a formal education in marketing and having experience outside of the channel in marketing. And all of these other things that actually make us marketing experts can't be obtained with a DIY, sitting in front of your computer education. That's just how it is. It's the same thing for you. Nobody can sit in front of a computer and watch YouTube videos about IT and become as good of an MSP as you are. So it's unfair to think that marketing is different, that marketing can be just this thing that you call somebody up and say, do this, do this, do this, I know better than you, and it's going to work. No. And so a long time ago, we stopped working with people like that. I mean, we have the luxury of choosing who we get to work with, and we don't work with people that have that mindset, just like you wouldn't want to work with a client that thought that way. So, do yourself a favor and have an open mind and let the marketing professionals do their jobs. Let them tell you what's going to work and what's not going to work. Don't listen to YouTube. Don't all of the gurus. The problem with gurus is that they're always really good at one thing, being gurus. That's their specialty. Their specialty is not whatever they're teaching you. Their specialty is being a guru at whatever. And that is just that it's its own industry. And a lot of times it's just not the best way to get your information. So, number two, thinking they've differentiated their MSP when they haven't done so. First thing we ask whenever we talk to a new prospect or an MSP contacts us, with the first early launch of our MSP Growth Club, we even ask this of the new club members. How do you differentiate your MSP from your competitors? Very rarely do we get a good answer to that question. Usually the answer is going to be we have great customer service, which doesn't count. We don't use geek speak. That doesn't count. Our prices are the lowest in the area. Nope. We have a fast response time. Nope, doesn't count either. And then we don't do break fix. And the reason why none of these are actual differentiators is because, one, everybody says them. Two, you're expected to provide good service. The consumer doesn't expect you to be crappy unless you brand yourself otherwise. They expect you to do what you're paying them for. Low prices are not a differentiator. They're actually a different entry point competition-wise. So, I mean, you can differentiate if you want to be like the Sam's Club of IT and make it part of your brand that you're cheap. But most of you aren't trying to do that, not by a long shot. You're actually trying to make more money, not through volume sales. So the only honest answer we typically get is that we don't have a differentiator, and good. I mean, be honest about it, because you're the reason you're looking for marketing help is because you don't know these things necessarily, or you don't know the best answer to the question. It's our job to come up with your differentiator, not yours. I mean, that's what marketing does. And it's not something that we just make up. I mean, if you're working under the agency model and like your onboarding involves a 1-hour call, there isn't a lot of time to do anything strategic with your marketing. So yeah, usually your differentiator ends up being picked from thin air, and then it somehow goes into your messaging and it's supposed to work. But that's not what we do. That's not what marketing is actually about. You have to develop something that is an actual value add to your company that you are doing. That's why we focus on product development so much. You have to differentiate through what you're actually doing and what you're bringing, the value that you're bringing to the market. Um, and that's where you start to get you break away from that commoditization, and you break away from that idea that all IT companies are the same, because now you're not fighting the uphill battle of trying to uh, say things that make you look different. Now you're actually doing things that look different and are different. And that's where you start adding value. That's where your price starts to go up. And that's why we've always been able to charge twice, three times what other marketing agencies charge from the day we started, because we have always focused on actually building a different type of value for our clients. And that means we develop products in-house. We make software in-house. We do things, we don't repeat what some guru said on YouTube the day before and say that that's our marketing expertise. We spend every single day coming up with new innovations in marketing and new ways to approach the market and testing them and doing the real hard work. And that's exactly what you need to do as an IT company, is not try to find a way to climb to the top of the pile of copycats, but get out of that pile and be your own thing and be really, really good at it. So let's go to number 3. They think marketing is where they need the most immediate help. Common mistake. The first thing you think when you're like, hey, I need to grow my company, or, hey, we're screwed because we can't pay the bills. How do we get more clients, like, quick? You think, well, we better do more marketing. It's going to get more leads. We'll get more sales. Blah, blah, blah. End of the story. We're rich. Well, that's not, and a lot of you have seen this and learned it the hard way, that's not really the best answer to the growth question. Marketing is one part of a bigger formula. And, again, when you go pursue that route of marketing, because of the misunderstanding of what that actually means, and you get up into the realm of digital advertising or digital marketing instead of actual development of your company, you're desperate. You need growth, so you run out, you hire a company that does marketing, and it's like, okay, let's do some emails, let's do this, let's do that, and we're sending out all this stuff, outbound marketing, inbound marketing, let's landing pages and sales funnels and content calendars. Great. I mean, that is all real stuff. It's all stuff that's necessary long term for marketing. However, if you're not at the point where leveraging that is actually going to help you, it's a waste. And not most MSPs that find themselves in the position that they're first now able to afford good marketing, or they're desperate and they're trying to figure out a way to save their company, or they're trying to outsource something that they've done in-house, and they're finding out that their growth is plateaued for some reason and they don't know why. All of the normal reasons people end up calling us, they are not at the point where doing that stuff is going to help them at all. So, it's like you switch, when you throw that switch of just broadcasting, send as many emails as you can, send as many post as many articles as you can. Let's try to get the SEO up. You're not ready for that to matter yet. It's something that you have to do after you've built your product. You made sure that your placement in the market is good. You've established an image for your brand that has a foundation in reality and foundation in value, not just something you're making up, not a story, a real brand. So once you have all of that, then you can do all of that active marketing, what we often call like the labor of marketing, which is just the work at the front lines, and then you can expect it to do something for you. When we take on a new client and the idea is to get, because we have a couple of different guarantees in place, and the biggest guarantee that we give is that, when you're looking to hire us, we discuss, it usually takes 3 or 4 1-hour calls before we even decide to work with you. That's the difference between hiring us and hiring somebody that they spend 1 hour developing your entire strategy and then set you free in the world and expect something to happen. No, so we're in these early discussions. One of the things we have to figure out is, what is your actual goal? What is your desired new MRR for next year? And then we say, okay, we see that as being viable. We know how we're going to get you there. Here's how we're going to get you there. And if we don't, we're going to pay you the difference back because we didn't give you the ROI that we promised. Well, when we make guarantees like that, that means that we actually are very responsible for making sure you're getting qualified leads and that you're closing them. And we also kind of have this desire to get things going quickly. There's no we can't make that excuse of, oh, marketing takes time. Yes, some things do take time, but we just can't count on those things because we have a year. So we have to do the things that we know are going to be faster, which is where sales enablement comes in, because it's a much more active, targeted method of getting new business than marketing in the traditional sense. And because it's faster, it provides a quicker ROI, and it's way more reliable across markets. That's what most MSPs should be doing first, because it's a good little balance between spending a bunch of time and money on building the fundamentals and just doing a lot of research, doing a lot of like creative branding and things like that, but not actively going out and getting business, or just trying to actively go out and get business and failing because you have none of the fundamentals in place. It's right in the middle, because in the process of developing each little strategic funnel for sales enablement in our strategy, the way we do it, we're also doing a lot of that foundational work, but we're doing it a little bit at a time. So you're not waiting until it's all done before we're actually going out and getting those leads. So marketing is definitely not the answer. We've seen it over and over and over and over again. I know of marketing companies out there that have hundreds of clients and they don't get leads. Like, they'll actually celebrate when one lead comes in for one client, because that's how rarely they get leads for their clients. I mean, it's bad. And it's not necessarily anything other than application of the wrong thing at the wrong time. At some point, a company could benefit from what they're doing, which is just the blasting out tons of stuff. It's just their clients aren't there yet. It's a poor match of needs versus value. All right, let's go to number 4. They don't know which ideas to take from outside the MSP space. Very simply, what that means is that a lot of stuff within the MSP space is recycled, kind of at the point in the life cycle of the industry where almost everything that I see marketing and sales-wise in our space comes from outside. Because there's not a whole lot of people developing things directly in our space for us. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm very committed to personally, is developing things for MSPs by MSPs. We have a huge focus group of at this point 6 or 7 really large MSPs that we work with very closely on a regular basis to develop new things for the channel. It's not something we're grabbing from another industry and trying to implant it here to get it to work. All right, so they're pulling this stuff from outside, and it just doesn't really fit the needs of this particular market. It's foolish to think that something that works over here is just going to plug in and work directly the same over here. And the example that I use right here in the article, very good example of this, is Storybrand. Storybrand, we watched that. I mean, I don't know how long it's been around on the channel, but it seems like a couple years ago, a lot of people started talking about it. We all immediately read the book because we were starting to run into Storybrand in our work. We would get, we had one client, big vendor, that went and hired a Storybrand consultant to go do a workup for them while we were already engaged, and we said, sure, let's see what this guy comes up with. And other times we'll bring on a new client that already had Storybrand work up something for them. And ultimately, over time, what we discovered is that it's just not a very good fit for the MSP space. And I have a background in screenwriting. The first, early on, like over 10 years ago, some of the first accolades I got for my writing was through winning screenwriting contests. And, you know, I also obviously have a background in copywriting. That's where my professional career originated. So I've been doing all of this for a very long time. I understand where Storybrand, where the methodology is coming from. I get what it's supposed to be doing, and fundamentally the idea of, like, cramming your business into the monomyth, and trying to use Jungian archetypes to determine the placement of this, that. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's not the worst idea in the world. I would say that if for the average small business, if you have no other option for trying to come up with a brand, it's a great solution because you've got to have something, and it's better than nothing. However, the problem we ran into over and over again in the MSP space, and this is why the bringing it in here was a dumb idea, is that it's a formula. StoryBrand is a formula. If you see the templates that they use, we worked with a dozen different StoryBrand guys, and we saw the formula almost exactly the same every time. And guess what? It output almost exactly the same thing every time too, because that's what formulas do. You take something that's kind of the same across the board, like an MSP, fundamentally they're all the same, and you plug it into a formula, what do you think's going to come out the bottom? The same, the same, the same, the same, the same answer. So you ended up with all of these different MSPs that had that hero archetype thing going on. The guys were writing up the same kind of messaging, and none of it was actually very good, but it does nothing except it takes homogeny and, like, re spits it out as something else that's slightly different but still the same across the board. And so that's an example of something that didn't exactly work. So we developed something that works better than StoryBrand for the MSP space. Much better. Totally awesome. Everybody we've done this program with, which is all of our clients, has been very impressed with the output. We can actually come up with a more unique and fitting sales enablement ready brand in like an hour than that StoryBrand process comes up with. Um, that is something that we're now repurposing for our MSP Growth Club so that everybody in the club can use it. And we're doing workshops to show them how to use it and help them do it in groups. Um, we want to make sure that's part of what I do. Like, I'm really big on making sure that MSPs are getting the best bang for their buck. I stuck with this industry because I saw so much crap happening that was just wasting you guys' money, and it wasn't getting you anywhere. And it drove me nuts because I would see somebody paying $2,000, $3,000 a month and getting nothing back. And that is just absurd. So I stuck with this industry because I'm not an IT guy. I'm a marketing guy. I could go anywhere in the world. But I stayed with the MSPs because I see a need for better marketing. There is definitely still a need for it, and we want to bring that to you. We want to give that to you. And by taking StoryBrand and saying, no, this ain't working, sorry, and we came up with our own thing that will, because it's designed for you. We're doing that. We're bringing you the better stuff. So let's that's just one example. So be careful of what you're bringing in from outside because it's not all going to transplant perfectly into the channel. Uh, another big, well, here's another point I don't want to skip, and it goes back to what I just said. I'm a marketing guy. I'm not an IT guy. Guess what? If you're trying to hire a marketing person, you want a marketing guy. A lot of the gurus out there, their backstory is all about how they owned an MSP 20 years ago. That's not a marketing person. That's somebody who had an MSP and is now telling you that they must have been so good at marketing that they had an MSP and they sold it. I went to school for marketing. I study marketing every day of my life. I now study human behavior. I don't study IT. I get all the information I need to be able to sell and market IT from the clients I work with and from doing a little bit of studying on the side. But what I need to know is not how to run an MSP. You're good at that. You do that. You don't need to outsource that to me. You're hiring me because you need to know marketing, and that is what I do. That's what I've done my whole life. So you don't necessarily want to get your marketing advice from inside the channel. That's the thing you want to go outside the channel to get, because that's where you're going to get the innovation and the fresh ideas. 100%. It's very difficult to argue against that point. You're not going to get anything new, fresh, or really innovative. You're not going to disrupt the channel by keeping your brain inside that box. All right, so point 5, let's see if we can beat the clock on this. I don't want to go for an hour on take 2. They try to do all of this stuff themselves. That's the big mistake. Look, I understand. I've started multiple businesses in my life. I am a small business owner still. I probably will be till the day I die, because I just keep starting new stuff. Look, I understand. You got to wear a lot of hats. You got to do a lot of things. The key, I think, is to not be proud of that fact. That is just a step to something better. You don't want to like derive your motivation, your pride from the idea that you're struggling and you're suffering to do all this work. Your key goal, number one thing that you should be focused on, is trying to get all of that off your plate and move on. So, you know, the idea that you're wearing all these hats is not a bragging point. One thing that we always try to do is get our clients to the point where they don't need us anymore. They can bring the work in-house and we can teach their in-house staff how to do what we do. Or, you know, they can learn how to do this stuff on their own or whatever. You know, if we get brought on occasionally, and now with the Growth Club, there's a lot of very small shops that we're going to be working with. You know, they are the salesperson and they are the marketing guy, and we don't just want to take over that job for them. We want to help them build a system that will allow them to grow and scale with or without us. They need to be able to get that off their plate forever so that they can grow their business and move on with bigger, better things that they want to do. You know, and again, it's a huge factor when you're thinking about valuation of your business. If you are forever counting on an outside company to generate your sales and your marketing, how do you think it's going to affect what your company is worth? Because at any point I could leave and our company could leave and you have no sales or marketing engine, and really, where is the value of your company coming from? You want that in house. You want to figure out as quickly as possible how to take that over yourself. And we help you do that. We help you build the processes so you don't need us anymore. But most important factor, to go back to the point, is you also don't want to be doing it literally by yourself. Like, you don't want to be the one trying to do everything, because you're going to spread yourself too thin, and then obviously you know what happens there. Now, point six, a lot of MSPs are wasting money. One of the first things, again, we do when we take on a new client is help them figure out where are they spending their marketing budget where they don't need to be spending it. All right, like, oh, you're doing syndicated posts on your website, get rid of it. It's worthless, waste of money. You're doing this, okay. A lot of times, you know, they're paying for SEO services from another company, so we'll audit the website and see what this SEO company is doing. And you would not believe how many times that we've looked and found a company that was doing absolutely nothing but charging hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars a month to do your SEO. And a lot of times they had really good excuses for why they weren't doing anything, but you know, that's a waste. That is such a total waste of your money that could be going somewhere else. So we find that and we get rid of it. And um, we there's a lot of smaller shops out there. For this is a big one. Is a small MSP will get sold on a tool, a marketing tool, um, and it sounds great. It's going to be life changing. It's going to make their business so much better, and then they pay for it. They're locked into a contract. They're paying hundreds of dollars a month for this tool. And then they never look at it again. It's like a gym membership, you know. That is very common, and we want to make sure that you're not doing stuff like that. As an example here, you know, there is stuff that you can go get for $200-300 a month that's actually a service that will go out, and you know, they'll do LinkedIn posts for you for 300 a month. They'll do some emails for you for 300 a month. And a lot of people will buy into that because they're thinking, well, it's better than nothing, or they spend that 300 on that and they feel good because it's like, hey, I'm finally doing some marketing. But generally speaking, I'm not going to make a blanket statement here. I hate blanket statements in this way, but that $300 a month for the average MSP is going to accomplish nothing if it's spent on sort of these traditional marketing vectors. Um, you know, so it's much better. We've found that if you take that $500, whatever that you were looking to just throw at something and hope that it worked, take that money, you know, get LinkedIn Navigator, go find some prospects that you would really like to work with, go look them up, go learn a little bit about them, make a personal introduction, and offer to take them out to dinner or something. Use that money for something that's very targeted and specific, and your chances of getting a contract out of that are infinitely higher than somebody just going out and posting some stuff on LinkedIn, or getting some syndicated blog posts on your website, like stuff like that. Don't waste your money. And finally, number 7, there's people that look at investing in sales and marketing like it's a panic button. They wait until their business is in dire straits and then they say, "Oh, help, marketing, help, help, help." That's not how marketing works. Unfortunately, we've run into a few people like that, and we've tried to help. I mean, we've actually even done pro bono work for a couple of MSPs that were really, really in hard times, and we just really wanted to try to do a couple of things for them to try to help them get out of trouble. But even we told them right off the bat, like, hey, you're kind of too late. I mean, you can't worry about building a stronger ship when it's already halfway underwater because it's got holes in it. I mean, and it's sad. It really is. I mean, what do we as business owners all have in common? We hate to see other people fail. It's not what we want. And so, the advice here is really just don't think of marketing as a fix or a gimmick or a band-aid or something you're going to do later when you have time. It needs to be really an integral part of your entire business. I mean, look at what you do. You're an MSP. You are a sales organization. It's just crazy to think of marketing as something that comes later. It's something that you do when you have time. No, marketing is the foundation of everything you're trying to accomplish. It really is. All right, so let's see. I wasn't actually keeping track, but I think we're well under an hour. That's going to be the end of this one. I really want to thank you for listening and watching. I hope you got some good pointers out of it. And again, thanks, Tom, for giving me the idea to do this video. I'm going to keep doing them. This was a lot of fun. I will catch you guys later.